This is the HPT.
Sit right down, put on your poker face, you with the big dogs now. Better bring your best game, talk trash all you want. To me it's all the same, you won't leave with much when you come in second place. And I'm the one with the stack showing 7 to the jack. Gon' cry to your mama cause I'm sending you back. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand. Last man standing with the money in my hand. I'll be the last man standing with the money in my hand.
Hello everyone and welcome to the HPT. I'm James Larson, joined by professional poker player Mr. Robert Williamson III. This week we wrap up our show from Mount Pleasant, Michigan, here at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. What a week it's been and what a prize pool.
I'll tell you what, a great giant prize pool. First place over $166,000, and I've had a fantastic time here this week.
Total prize pool of over $720,000. And on tonight's show, we will crown our new HPT champion. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and meet the players, take a look at the chip counts, and most importantly, look at that prize pool. And Robert, a whole lot of cash on the line. Look at that first place money, $166,565. Somebody's going to go home really happy.
A happy camper for sure, James. I'll tell you what, let's take a look at the chip counts. Chris Moon's still on top, but he did get a little bit of the chip lead carved out from underneath him. Josh is catapulted with those chips up into third place.
Great to be back here at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, beautiful Mount Pleasant, Michigan. They got 15 golf courses in the area. Right down the street is the Soaring Eagle Water Park. We've had great fun here in the casino. Had some awesome meals, and of course the poker action's been red hot. Rod's going to fold from the 1 seat now over to Josh, who was all but done last week. Had pocket deuces, ran him right into pocket jacks, but he flopped 4 of a kind, so no worries for him.
Well, that's where the phrase comes from. Deuces seldom loses.
Now action over to John on the button with my favorite pocket pair, the old pocket nines.
Josh was our open raiser up to $125,000. And I got a feeling we're going to see some action here.
And John just makes the call. But what I like about nines, it's like you're hiding in the bushes, especially if you can flop that set. Nobody ever has any idea, especially as John limps here on the button. I love the pocket nines. We'll see if they're lucky for him. Scott's going to come along. He's got King 10. He's going to defend from the big blind. So three-way action as we go to the flop. Scott, John, and Josh. And the flop is Ace King 5.
Well, a good flop for Josh, but at the same time, Scott flops second pair as well.
Yeah, both of those players catching a piece of it. Scott's going to check over to Josh. Josh is going to bet $175,000, and John makes the correct fold here. He releases his pocket nines, and now action back to Scott, who did get a piece of this. And Scott's going to go ahead and make the call. That's Scott Syler. He started last week with just over 1 million chips. He's 48 years old, a mortgage broker / CPA from Detroit, Michigan. Turn card now is the Ace of Hearts.
Well, sometimes that's a deceptive turn card because there's less aces that Josh could be holding in his hand, so it might actually reinforce Scott's thought that he does have the best hand.
Scott checks, and now Josh is going to make a bet, $290,000. Josh is from Sterling Heights, Michigan, just 25 years old, one of these whiz kids, I call him. His best friend, by the way, Chris Moon over there in the 4 seat. Scott's going to make the call. Scott coming along. A pot now of almost 1.4 million chips. So much on the line tonight here on the HPT. River card now, the meaningless 4 of clubs.
Yeah, but Josh has got to decide, do I have the best hand? It feels like he does, and if he does feel that way, he's got to make a good value bet here. Try to get one last street of payoff from Scott.
Scott checks over to Josh. Josh is stacking some chips. You can see the colors. We're in Michigan. They look kind of like the Michigan Wolverine colors.
Well, those 100K society chips, dude, for sure.
It's a bet of $400,000, and Scott just can't let it go. He's going to make the call. He's going to see that he was beat the entire way. The winner of the pot is Josh Marvin. He's calling this his summer saver. WSOP wasn't so kind. This would be quite the saver, as we've got a huge first place prize tonight. $166,565.
It's time to step away for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, only 6 players remain at this final table here at Heartland Poker Tour in beautiful Soaring Eagle, Michigan. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Heartland Poker Tour Soaring Eagle final table, where 6 players are remaining. The next one eliminated will take home over $27,000. But before we head back to the table, let's check out the current chip count.
Chip counts, it's been pretty much a one-horse race. However, we're now in a virtual tie. John, out of nowhere, sneaking up there on Chris.
He sure has, and I'll tell you what other developments are. Josh up 1.2 million, Scott down 1.2 million.
None of these players have ever played at an HPT final table, so a bunch of rookies as far as the HPT goes here at final tables, but a whole lot of experience. We saw great poker last week, and I got a feeling we're going to see it again tonight. Rod looks down at King 10 on the button. Is this the time he gets them all in the middle, Robert? Will this be the time he doubles up, or will this be the time he gets eliminated?
You know, folded around to him, and he is the button. King 10 off there, short stacked. Yes, you probably should go ahead and shove right there.
And Josh is going to make a quick call with a great hand there. Ace, Jack in the small. Chris is going to fold his hand. They're going to flip him over, and Rod's going to see that he needs some help or he's going to be eliminated. Rod is from Coleman, Michigan, 45 years old. He was born in Flint, Michigan. Just $190 invested in this main event.
That's what I call a good parlay, James.
So not a bad flop here for Rod as it comes out 9-8-7, couple of hearts. He's got an open-ended straight.
And you can see it did actually increase his chances of winning this pot by a little bit more.
What Rod doesn't want to do here is pair his 10. Let me tell you that.
No, he does not.
So we go to the turn card now. It's another 9, this time the 9 of diamonds. So
And that puts Rod's tournament life at risk. He needs help here, James. He needs a jack, a king, or a 6, or he's out.
And the river card's the 7 of diamonds, so that's going to do it. 2 pair with the ace kicker. Josh wins the hand. Rod Maxi going out in 6th place, but a great payday, $27,158. His plans for the cash were to buy a house with the money. I tell you what, Robbie, that's going to make a nice little down payment. Great to be back here at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. The first time we were here was back in 2008, and since then we've awarded over $7 million in main event prize pool money. Over to Scott. He is all in. This might be an early night here for us here on the HPT.
I'll tell you what, James, but I can't blame Scott. He is the short stack. He's got 2 10s. I think he wants to get paid off.
And now action over to John.
7.
He looks down at pocket 5s, the old Sammy Hagar, and he's going to make the call. So 10s versus 5s, a good spot here for Scott to double up. John thinking he was probably up against a couple of overcards there, or maybe an ace 10 or an ace 7 or an ace 6. Instead, he's up against a bigger pocket pair.
That's the only problem with calling with small pairs, James. You're hoping for a coin flip.
The flop now is queen 4 deuce.
Well, not a bad flop, though, for John, because now all he needs is a spade, and he'll flush Scott right to the curb.
A pot of almost 1.5 million chips. Scott just shakes his head. He's still ahead, though, with 2 streets to go. Turn card now is a 9 of diamonds, so his odds are improving.
Well, Scott only needs a dodge, a 5, or a spade, and he's going to get the well-deserved and needed double up.
We go to the river card. You can cut the tension with a knife. No spade, no 5. It's the king of diamonds. So a full double up there for Scott.
I love spades. You want the money. I don't doubt that. That's okay.
Players are starting to loosen up. Last week we saw a lot of quietness at the table, not a whole lot of banter. Now the guys are smiling. We're moving up in the pay jumps. I mean, look at this. The next guy going out is going to go home with just over $35,000. I'd be smiling, too.
I was going to say that. That makes me smile just talking about it.
Blinds are 30,000, 60,000 with a 10K ante. It's James and Rob hanging out here at the Soaring Eagle Casino. And now action over to Vinnie on the button. And look at this. This is a saver for him. He hopes. Pocket aces. His chips are in the middle.
He waited and waited. He finally got to 2 aces, but unfortunately for him, he was down to his last under 200,000.
Scott now looks down at a couple of Broadway cars. He's going to make the call. Now over to the big blind, and Josh in the 2 seat. And he's going to make the call as well with 6 straight. They're just trying to eliminate a player at this
That's
point.
exactly what's happening, James. That's why we saw that, what looked like a pretty loose call from Josh.
You know, 5th place money just over 35,000. 4th place money just under 47,000. The flop is Jack 6-5. Both players check. Now let's go to the turn. It's the 10 of hearts. Scott and Josh both check, just hoping to eliminate Vinnie, get him out of the way. And the river card now is the tray of spades.
Wow.
2 pair in the air.
I think Josh has got to value bet here. Try to get a little something from Scott.
2 pair just like that. Josh is going to win the hand. That's going to be it for the Vinster. He's going out in 5th place. But, Robbie, let's be honest. He gambled a lot tonight.
Then he played a lot of hands, but of course, he's used to seeing a lot of hands. He's a manicurist.
You're exactly right. And for his efforts, he's going to go home with just over $35,000.
With one more elimination, we are down to 4 players here at Heartland Poker Tour final table. We're going to take a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Hi, it's Tatiana Pashlich. Welcome back to Heartland Poker Tour final table here at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We are down to 4 players who are ready to show us their best poker skills in the hunt for the bracelet and the title. So let's head back to the desk.
4 players remain. Let's take a look at the chip counts. Chris, John, Josh, and Scott. And this guy, Chris Moon, he's been on the top the entire way.
Tell you what, James, he really has just chipped up and chipped up. But in addition to that, Josh and Scott have managed to chip up recently as well.
The thing about Chris Moon, this guy's just been playing perfect poker, not making any mistakes. He's basically the Bill Belichick here of this final table, and he's wearing a gray hoodie.
I was going to ask if you were referring to his hoodie.
Action now over to John, who's picked up steam as well. He's on the button, reaching for chips. And he's going to go ahead and raise it up. He's got 10-4, good buddy. He's going to raise to $150,000.
The CB hand, wait a minute. I know it's a name hand, but it's not a good hand.
John's on the button. He's going to mix it up a little bit. Makes a button play there.
Wow.
And now Scott just making the call with a huge hand. There's Ace-Jack. Josh gets out of the way in the big blind. Going to let these 2 guys battle it out. I like the raise there on the button. He's opening up his game a little bit. Why not? It's 4-handed.
But Scott should have moved all in.
And the flop is king, queen, 4, couple of clubs.
Well, a gut shot straight draw for Scott, but bottom pair for John.
Scott checks, and now the old continuation bet. We see it each and every week. You got a continuation bet here.
Well, this is the problem with Scott not re-raising pre-flop. He doesn't really know where he's at in this hand, and he might have to make this call as a result of not re-raising pre-flop.
John's going to bet 175. Scott's going to make the call. 4-handed play. I love it when we get to this part of the program. It's great to watch these guys battle. 6 of spades now on the turn, and look at this. Scott's all in. No more waiting. All in. John has no idea he's in the lead right now.
Yeah, but that's a really tough spot that John's in. It's going to be one of the best calls I've seen, period.
There's no way he can make this call. I bet you $5. You can pay me back tomorrow. John's going to fold. Scott is going to win the hand. He's from Detroit, Michigan. He's got his wife, Elizabeth, in the audience. He's got over $140,000 in lifetime earnings. His claim to fame last year, he finished 4th in a WSOP event. That was WSOP event number 62. This is the 12th time the HPT has been back here at Soaring Eagle. And only once before this, the turnout was bigger. That was back in 2011. We had 545 players. Action is on Scott, and once again, he wakes up with Ace-Jack. It's kind of like Groundhog Day today.
I wonder if we're going to have any more days of winter.
He's going to raise it up to $185,000. Josh on the button gets out of the way. Action over to Chris. Now looks down at King 9.
Well, it's a dog of a hand.
Chris is going to fold. Over to John now. John's in the big blind.
John seems to like these suited cards. King 7 of clubs. He makes the call.
Scott taking on John. Ace-Jack versus King 7. Go to the flop. And it's Ace-King 10. Interesting flop there, Robbie.
Well, second pair for John. Top pair for Scott. This is why I always say it's dangerous calling with subpar hands, because sometimes you flop second best, then you don't know where you're at.
Check by John. Scott bets $350,000. And now an all-in and a quick call, ladies and gentlemen. And Scott loves where he's at right now. He's ahead with his ace. A little bit of smile as he hopes to double up and keep his hopes alive.
John's asking for a king. Oh, and now Scott counters. He wants a queen.
All right, turn card, just like that.
I think Scott's prayer was answered.
The Queen of Hearts, just like that.
Now, John can only hope for a jack so we can get half this pot.
Scott goes to Broadway, and he loves it. A double up for him. Deuce of spades comes on the river, so Scott's not going anywhere. He can get comfortable again, start stacking chips. Life is good. Four-handed here on the HPT. Up top, Robert, it's $166,565. Second place, that's a six-figure score as well, almost $102,000. Third place, $67,495. And right now, these players are guaranteed at least just under $47,000. Got to be a good feeling when you're at a poker player knowing, worst thing I can do here is go home with $47K.
Not a bad day at the office.
Action over to Josh. He's going to raise it up to $175,000 with his queen jack. Four-handed experience really comes into play, Robert.
Sure does. And reading players is very important as well.
And now action over to Chris Moon. He's reaching for chips. And he's going to raise it up, rightfully so. He picks up pocket kings.
I love this play because it's hard for Josh to put him on a real hand here.
Now remember, Chris and Josh, they're best friends. You can't knock out your buddy, can you?
Well, you know what they say, there's no friends in love and war, and this is war, James.
You're right about that. Josh is going to make the call. You know, we've seen mother-son here at the final table. Now we're seeing best friends. Maybe you and I will get to a final table sometime.
That'd be awesome.
I highly doubt that. Flop is jack, four, deuce, couple of hearts.
Well, Josh does flop top pair. Chris still with the over pair. Looks like Chris is going to cause some damage to Josh's stack here.
It's a check over to Chris, and now a bet of $330,000. We saw Chris have pocket kings last week, and he got full value. He bet every street and was called on every street. He's hoping that happens right here against his pal Josh. Who better to take money from than your good buddy? It's $330 and a call. Turn card now, the Queen of Hearts. Things are getting interesting.
Oh, wow. That gives Josh two pair, but Chris unknowingly has the overpair still to the board and the higher flush draw.
And look at this. They both check that turn card. I love it. River card now, no heart. It's the tray of clubs. And I think Chris knows that he's beat.
I don't know. That was a very conservative check on the turn.
We're going to find out right here. Josh reaching for chips. Remember, these guys have played a lot of poker together. They've had strategy sessions. They've talked on the phone. The bet's $550,000.
And Josh is going to take down that pot with two pair, queens and jacks. That's not the storyline to me, James. The storyline to me is Chris waking up with pocket kings and not losing a whole bunch of chips.
Chris Moon continues to put on a clinic here at this final table, but his buddy, Josh Marvin from Sterling Heights, Michigan, is going to win that hand. Josh is just 25 years old, trying to win his first ever HPT title. And when we come back from this quick commercial break, we'll have more exciting final table action. How you doing, everybody? James Larson and Robert Williamson III, broadcasting from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort right here in beautiful Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Chip count time, and Robbie, we got some news to report.
I'll tell you what, newsflash, we got a new chip leader. Josh got catapulted ahead of Chris due to that last hand. Chris still in a firm second place, but I'll tell you what, the victim of all this, John at the bottom of the rung.
4 players remain. They all want to be our champion. You get the title, you get the bragging rights, you get the bracelet. Oh, by the way, we also give you $166,000. Well, $166,565 to be exact.
I was going to say, go ask a cab driver to borrow $565, see what he says to you.
Exactly, that's not chump change. Scott's going to raise it to $225,000 with his ace-9. We'll see who gets aggressive. You know, now might be the time you see one of these players trying to shift gears. It's probably not going to be Chris Moon. This guy's been Mr. Consistency. Hasn't changed his game at all. He's doing what works. Exactly. He makes the call. 2 players to the flop. It goes queen, 9, 6, couple of spades. Chris gets the best of that flop, pairing his queen, but Scott also paired his 9.
And those kind of flops are dangerous because Chris has the best hand, but Scott doesn't know that. He's got middle pair too with a really good kicker.
Chris bets $240,000. Look at that. Scott says, I'm going to raise. Very sure of himself. I don't know if that's a semi-bluff the way he did that, the way he said it, his little mannerism that he had there.
Yeah, but the mannerism is he raised it up to 605,000. Too small of a raise. He's not going to get Chris off top pair for that small of a raise.
And look at Chris. He's like a human computer. It's all going through his brain.
And Chris pushes all in.
Yeah, the brain told him he's ahead. Let's get them all in the middle, and let's make that man right there make a decision. And that's how you play poker. That's power poker right there, my friend.
That is a lesson in power poker
so strong.
for sure.
And look at that. Scott doesn't Hollywood it too much. Again, that's where the experience comes into play. This guy, Chris Moon,
I want to see that one on TV.
he's crazy good. You will see it on TV, Scott. You will see it, and you will see
Really?
that you were beat.
Okay.
They're starting to loosen up a little bit, though. I like this, Robbie.
A little more table talk here.
A little more table talk. We're getting a little bit of a production, and they're smiling. I like to see the players having fun. After all, we're sitting around playing poker for thousands of dollars.
What else could be more fun than that?
Yeah, we're the only ones that are actually working. The dealers and you and I.
I forgot till you had to bring it up.
Chris is going to raise to $180,000 with his ace-5. Chris been catching some cards too, but he's just been playing well. Catching cards, playing well, trying to win a title. John's going to fold. Over to Scott. Looks down at Jack-7, suited up in clubs. Big blind special here.
180.
He's going to defend. And he does just that. Scott Syler, he's 48 years old. He's a mortgage broker from Detroit, Michigan. Flop comes out 9-8-6.
Wow, an open-end straight draw for Scott. Chris didn't catch a piece of it. I guess a 7 does make him a low straight.
Yeah, he's got the gutter ball possibility there. Scott's going to check over to Chris. We'll see how Chris plays this. He's also got the ace of hearts, so he's got that as his backup plan. He's going to bet $155,000.
If I'm Scott, I play this hand very aggressive. It doesn't feel like a flop that fits Chris's hand. I come over the top right here. But what do I know? Scott decides just to call.
And with Scott's chip stack here, he can't really check call a whole lot. And look at this on the turn card now, the 7 of hearts, so that's going to make a straight for Chris.
Well, that pairs up Scott. He still has a straight draw, but that was not the card he was looking for.
Wow, he's all in.
Oh, my gosh, and that's the worst thing he could say.
Buzzsaw City. And Chris taking his normal time to think about this because he doesn't know Scott could have a 10.
Yep, this is not an easy call by any stretch for Chris. But he does make it.
He is going to make the call, and Scott's going to see that he needs some help.
He sure does. He needs a 10 to get all the pot, or a 5 to get half the pot, or he's going to go out in 4th place.
Chris standing up for the first time all day.
Just a 10.
And Scott's saying, just a 10, just a 10. It's a 6 of diamonds. That's going to do it. The winner of the hand is Chris. That's going to knock out Scott, but not for nothing. A nice little payday for this guy. Just under $47,000 for Scott Syler. Congratulations to him. Enjoy your cash, my friend, and we hope to see you again here on the HBT.
Tell you what, Scott made a move on that pot. He got caught, and I'll tell you another thing. Chris made a great call with the bottom end of that straight.
And once again, more chips going to our chip leader. All right, the action continues here from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Now, blinds are $40,000, $80,000 with a $10K ante. Action on Josh on the button. Looks down at pocket 5. He's going to raise it up. Why not? To $175,000.
Don't blame him at all. Remember, this is three-handed poker, and hand values go way up.
Chris is going to fold, and I'll look at this. John with a 3-bet shove. Why not? He's got an ace. He's going to get them all in the middle.
This is a really tough call for Josh. He's having John counted down. I think he's going to make the call.
He's going to do just that.
He got what he was hoping for. The best he could hope for there really was a coin toss. And as you can see, he's actually even bigger favorite than that because we already saw 1-9 mucked by Chris.
So pocket 5's going up against the ace-9. John with 2 live cards trying to double up and keep his tournament hopes alive here at Soaring Eagle. And we go to the flop and look at that.
Wow.
Ace-5-4.
Oh, John had to love the flop until he saw the 5. He saw the ace, thought, I got him. No, I don't. Well, John is going to need some runner help here, or he's going to go out in 3rd.
Turn card now is the tray of diamonds.
Well, he could get a deuce and potentially split this pot.
Otherwise, we're going to be heads up for the title with a couple of best friends. And the river card is the Queen of Hearts. That is going to do it. Josh wins the hand. John is eliminated. He's going to go out in third place with $67,495. And when we come back from this break, it's going to be Heads Up Poker. Welcome back to the HPT. I'm James Larson, joined by Robert Williamson III. We're broadcasting from Mount Pleasant, Michigan, here at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Robbie, this is a first for us here on the HPT. We're about to go heads up with two best friends.
Well, they are playing for a lot of cash still, James, but more importantly, these two are playing for bragging rights.
Two friends, a lot of cash, one title. Let's head down to the action.
Let the fun begin, James. Chris on top of our chip lead. I'll tell you what, 60-40 over Josh. But Josh, also a great player. This is anybody's match.
And we got a couple of best friends here, heads up at the final table, playing for all the cash. $166,565 up top. Second place, just under $102,000.
You don't see this happen every day. Two best friends getting to duke it out for the HPT title, a load of cash, and the coveted silver bracelet.
Josh is going to raise it up to $175,000. Chris is going to make the call. Then we go to the flop. Couple of 8s and a 10.
Wow, what a great flop for Chris. I think he's going to try to trap Josh on this. Check it over to him, I would suspect.
Couple of buddies here, final table, trying to play for all the cash here. Who do you like heads up, Robert?
Wow, I'm going to have to pick the chip leader right now. Chris has played great. Josh, also a great player. I don't know their styles well enough, but I've played a lot more hours against Chris, and he really impressed me, James.
Chris is going to bet $175,000. Josh makes the call. A pot of nearly $1 million chips. And look at that. The turn card is the Jack of Hearts.
Great card for Chris's hand. Fills him up, but also gives Josh an open-ended straight draw. Chris has got to try to get a payday here and make some kind of a value bet.
Both players checking that turn card.
Give Josh a free card here.
And now we go to the river. 5 of hearts comes on the river. We'll see if Chris decides to bet now.
Well, it's going to be hard for Chris to get paid. I just don't see how he's going to get any more money out of Josh.
Every decision so calculated here for Chris. We've seen it last week. We saw it tonight. He's going to bet $415,000.
He's trying to make it look like he's on a steal.
Action over to Josh now. Best friends, final table as they battle it out.
Wow.
Josh is going to make the call. And he's going to see he ran it right into a full house. Chris is going to win the hand.
And Josh tried to make a hero call with just ace high.
You know, the people, the rail, the friends, the family, they're split. It's a family. It's
a family feud, just like the game show.
Really is a family feud. The action continues here from Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Blinds are $40,000, $80,000 with a $10K ante. Action is on Josh on the button. He's going to raise it up to $175 with his queen 10.
James, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of button raises here. This is going to be a battle of position.
Chris is going to make the call. He's got an ace playing heads-up poker. Best buddies at the final table. You couldn't have scripted it any better. Queen 8-4 is the flop. Action will start with Chris. He's going to check. Josh got the best of it, pairing his queen.
Well, Chris knows that Josh is going to lead in a vast majority of the flops. Whether he hits it or not, Chris has to call a lot of flops here, unfortunately. This one, Josh flops top pair.
The bet is 175,000 chips. And Chris is going to go ahead and raise it now to 450,000.
Well, Josh's continuation bet is rewarded here. Chris trying to make a play at Josh, checking out to see if he really does have a queen.
And Josh is going to make the call.
450 and the call?
You know, they're best friends. They've known each other forever, but they haven't said a word to each other yet, Robert.
Well, because they're playing for, $65,000 difference in these two places.
Turn card, 4 of clubs. Action on Chris. He's reaching for chips. And he's going to make a bet of 475,000.
Yeah, too small of a bet to get Josh out of the way. He's definitely going to get paid off here. Unfortunately, Chris doesn't want to get paid off.
Josh makes the call. He's got the best of it so far. We go to the river card. And the river card, no ace for Chris. It's the 7 of diamonds.
Well, I think by now Chris realizes he doesn't have the best hand. He's got to either make a big bluff, like $1.5 million, like a really big bluff, or just surrender like he just did. He checked down this hand.
Josh Marvin's been playing poker since he was 21 years old. He's going to check as well and see that he is the winner of the hand. So we're going back and forth here. Chips are going one way, then they're going the other way.
Let the meta games begin.
But a couple of good poker players like this, you knew it wasn't going to get over with fast. They're going to wait, they're going to pick their spots, and they're not going to make any mistakes. You can tell that these guys are just scholars of the game. They know how to play. They're not in any hurry to get out of here.
Now, even though they are friends, I promise you, both of them want this title and that cash.
Well, you know, the cash is one thing, the bracelet's another thing, but the bragging rights to you and your friends, especially your best friend, you want to be better. Flop is ace, king, deuce. Josh is going to check over to Chris.
And a lot of times, once again, the original raiser continuation bets and takes down these types of pots.
Bet is 150,000.
Josh says, I'm not giving up quite so quick.
And now we go to the turn card. It's the Queen of Hearts.
Well, still nobody has anything. I guess Chris did pick up a gut shot straight draw.
But remember, this is heads-up poker, mono-e-mono. And the river card now is the Jack of Hearts.
Good thing I pointed out the fact that Chris did pick up a gut shot because he made his straight.
Well, this is going to be really hard for Chris to get any chips out of Josh in this situation.
Well, you know, except for one thing, if Josh decides just to bluff out into Chris.
Like that right there, and it's 275,000 chips.
Well, Chris actually may not raise because it also put a flush out there.
He's going to make the call, and he's quickly going to see that he's going to win this hand. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back after these messages. You're watching the HPT. Welcome back to the HPT. I'm James Larson, joined by Robert Williamson III. Heads Up Poker resumes here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. I got to ask you, Robbie, what do you think of the Heads Up Poker thus far?
This has been fantastic poker. Poker at its finest. Two young, aggressive players playing small ball. Let the metagames begin.
Now, these two guys are best friends, keep in mind. So we've got the title, the cash, and don't forget the bragging rights.
I'll tell you what, we've got a great heads-up match. Even though Chris has won more hands than Josh so far, Josh won a key pot and is starting to cut into Chris's lead.
Speaking of Josh, he's entering his final semester at Oakland University. He's getting a degree in finance.
Well, it looks like he's going to have some new finances, all right, at least 101,000.
Yeah, almost
not
102. Yeah, this guy's going to go home with 6 figures no matter what. Josh raises the 225, and Chris quickly makes the call. Still no banter between these two best friends here at the final table.
They're bantering with their chips. I mean, that's a kind of a form of banter.
They sure are. It's all hearts, 10, 7, deuce. Chris holds the 9 of hearts. Josh holds the 8 of hearts.
And a top pair flop also for Chris.
And now Josh is going to bet 225,000. Action back over to Chris.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if Chris decides to play this fast. I prefer a check raise here, make it like 650.
And Chris is going to simply make the call. You know, Robert, these guys know so much about each other. You know, friends play a lot of poker together. They talk strategy. So turn card now is the 6 of spades.
Well, that helps Josh's hand a little bit, gives an open-end straight draw because we can see his flush draw is no good. But Chris also picks up a gut shot straight draw.
Action is on Chris. We'll see if he's the aggressor here, and he's reaching for some of those Michigan Wolverine colored chips there. He's going to bet 405,000.
That's a good payoff size. I like that bet by Chris. Josh does call me. Josh has a straight draw and flush draw. If I'm Josh, I have to call there too.
All right, we go to the river card now. And that river card is the 9 of spades.
Ooh, interesting card. It gives Chris 2 pair, but also makes Josh a straight.
Action is on Chris. He's first.
Chris may not lose too much on this pot, though, because there is 4 to a straight out there. He knows that only an 8 is all it would take to beat him.
Action over to Josh. He is going to make a bet. And he puts out that bet of 975,000 chips.
Wow, this is going to be all on Chris's read. I think he's going to have to pay him off, but he's not going to like what he sees.
Chris makes the call. Josh is going to win the hand. So it's back and forth here at this final table, Robert. It's anybody's game. Josh primarily plays Pot Limit Omaha. Again, a man after your heart.
Yep, well, I'll tell you what us Pot Limit Omaha players call this game we're playing today? Half Omaha.
Blinds are 50,000, 100,000 with a 10K ante. It's James Larson and Robert Williamson III broadcasting here from the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort right here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Chris is going to raise it up to $250,000 with his 9-8 of spades. And now look at this. Josh wakes up with a real hand, my friend.
I like a 3-bet in this spot if I'm Josh. Go ahead and define Chris's hand.
And it's a raise up to $675,000. A 3-bet indeed.
Chris doesn't look like he's ready to give up just yet. He might be factoring in the fact that Josh thinks that Chris is raising a few too many pots right now, and therefore he is going to make this call.
And he is going to do that. He's going to make the call. All right, Robert, the flop is King 5 deuce, couple of clubs.
Well, Josh might proceed with caution here. There is an overcard to his pair.
He's reaching for chips.
Well, from my lips to his non-listening ears.
He's going to bet $600,000. Now, what's going through Chris's mind?
Well, Chris has to think Josh has a really strong hand. I don't think there's many flops that Josh is going to lead at that Josh doesn't have a really strong hand.
Now look at this. Chris is going to raise it up, Robert.
You know, Chris is trying to outplay Josh a little too much in this heads-up match. It might come back to bite him.
But we've seen Chris outplay a lot of players at this final table tonight and last week.
Yeah, but Josh is too consistent and too good and knows Chris's game inside out. I think Josh is going to make this call, and he does.
Josh isn't so bad at hold'em for a PLO player.
Yeah, this half Omaha. Yeah.
Turn card now is the Queen of Clubs.
Well, not a bad card for Josh's hand because it gives him a club draw, but at the same time, it's another overcard. It's getting a little harder, a little tougher, but Chris has decided to surrender, and rightfully so.
Both players checking a pot of over 4 million chips. Now the river card is the 8 of diamonds.
Well, Chris has some showdown value now. He can show down at least a pair. I suspect we're going to see a check here on this river.
Josh checks over to Chris.
Josh is going to check over to Chris. Chris just contemplating, do I make a bet here? He's not going to. It's going to go check. And Chris is going to see the bad news. Josh is the winner of the hand. And once again, we got a pot going this way. We got him going one way and then back the other way. It's a seesaw battle here on the HPT. We're glad everybody joined us. Make sure to check out our webpage at hptpoker.com. Who knows, maybe you'll be playing for the life-changing cash right here on national television. I also want to thank everybody here from the property, the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. It's been an awesome week in Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
They are a truly great host, James, and we have had an awesome time here.
Josh is going to raise it up with his 8-6 of diamonds.
Well, Josh is raising a vast majority of his buttons, so I suspect Chris knows that, and he's going to keep playing back at him.
You know, these guys tell us they're such good friends, but boy, if you saw these two on the street, you'd think they'd never met, or maybe they were enemies.
Yeah, well, it looks like every time one of them takes a swing at the other one swings back at him.
Speaking of that, we've got a re-raise now by Chris going up to $650,000.
And Josh isn't going to go for that and makes the call.
And Josh makes the call. 600.
Queen Jack going up against the 8-6.
All right, let's see the flop.
A lot of cash on the line here in Mount Pleasant. The flop, 7-6 deuce, couple of hearts.
Well, Josh flops middle pair. Chris flops nothing but air. But at the same time, this flop doesn't look like it fits a re-raiser's hand.
And now Chris reaching for chips, and Josh may be able to figure this story out. $525,000 is the bet.
You notice they're playing small ball. Neither one of them making really large bets, trying to fill each other out hand by hand.
Yeah, we might be here all night, by the way. Speaking of small ball, nobody wants to go home, and we're having fun here at this final table. Turn card now is the 8 of hearts, 2 pair for Josh.
And I'll tell you what, and the ruse is over. Let's see if Chris has figured that out, though.
Action is on Chris Moon. He's led this final table wire to wire. Let's see if he can finish this up tonight. This probably not going to be the hand to do that. He bets just over 1 million chips.
Yeah, I don't think that Josh can get away from this. Even though there's a flush on the board, I see there's a straight on the board. 2 pair wins a lot of hold'em hands. It's a big hand.
And look at this. Josh is going to go all in. Chris quickly folds. The winner of the hand, Josh Marvin. We're going to step aside, but when we come back, the heads-up battle will continue right here from Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Welcome back to the final table here at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. We are only seconds away from resuming the tournament that is currently heads up, and the players will be battling it out for this beautiful bracelet and the title. So let's head straight into the action.
This week, we're at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort right here in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. 2 players remain. They happen to be best friends, and they're playing for a whole lot of cash. Action on Chris Moon. He looks down at pocket aces, Robbie. This could be the hand to get his momentum going once again.
I'll tell you what, I love aces anytime, but especially when your head's up.
He's going to go ahead and raise to $250,000. Action over to Josh, who looks down at King Jack. Another great hand when you're playing heads-up poker.
Any 2 face cards, James, and even an ace. Any ace is a big hand heads up.
It's a re-raise to $700,000. Chris loves every second of this. He's thinking www.doubleup.com.
And Chris has got to maximize this hand, hoping to get paid off with these 2 aces.
So Chris is just trying to lure him in a little bit here. He's going to make the call, and we're going to see a flop. And the flop is King, Jack 5, couple of diamonds. Bad news for Chris.
And sometimes the trapper becomes the trappy, and now Chris is in a lot of trouble.
And now Josh reaching for chips. This could be the entire tournament right here. It's going to be hard for Chris to get away from this. The bet is $700,000.
Chris is still thinking in his mind, how can I get paid off? Because he thinks he still has the best hand, but he's actually behind.
Chris is all in. Josh is obviously going to make the call here. I guess should Chris have re-raised all in pre-flop?
If he would have, Josh might not have even seen this flop, but now he has. Josh flops 2 pair. Chris needs an ace, a 5, or some runner magic to get out of this. Otherwise, we're going to have a new champion.
And look at this. The turn card is the 5 of clubs, so now Chris goes in the lead with a higher 2 pair.
Tell you what, though, there are still 2 kings and 2 jacks in the deck, and that's what Josh needs right here, right now. And my God! Wow! Just like that, the knife in Chris's heart.
What a way to end this nationally televised final table. Josh is your new champion. Somebody had to finish second place. That's going to be Chris Moon, and he's joined with Tatiana.
Chris, unfortunately, second place, or happy with second place?
Well, never happy with second, but if I was going to lose to anybody, it would definitely be Josh. We've been friends for like a really long time, and I really respect his game, and if there was anybody else I was going to lose to at this final table today, it definitely had to be him. So,
are you happy with your shove in the end?
I mean, yeah, I think flat. He was 3-betting so many hands that if I was to 4-bet, it would put him in a really awkward spot, and he probably wouldn't get it in otherwise. So I just had to flat and just like hope I didn't get out flopped. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But what are you going to do?
Are you happy with the way you played the final table?
Up until heads up. I think heads up, I speed off a couple chips, like playing some spots where I tried to put pressure on him when I had the chip lead, and it didn't work out for me. But I think other than that, everything else that I had done up to that point.
Over $100,000. Not a bad day in the office?
No, not a bad day in the office. Not bad for a Monday, I guess.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and hopefully we will see you again at the Heartland Poker Tour.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys. And once again, congratulations to Chris Moon going home with almost $102,000. And talk about his awesome play at this final table.
He played great from start to finish, but the man of the hour, the man we've got to talk about now, Josh Marvin, he ended up on top.
You know, he was quiet the entire night, but he made some noise when he needed to. And he is our new HPT champion, and he's joined with Tatiana.
Josh, congratulations, our new HPT Poker Tour champion.
Thank you very much. My first tournament win, actually, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's really awesome. Are you overly ecstatic and you're just putting your poker face on right now?
Cliche, but it feels kind of surreal. Like don't really know how to feel yet. I guess I'm just excited.
You're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to hit you.
Yeah, exactly.
How happy were you with your play today at the final table?
Besides getting it in deuces to jacks and flopping quads, I thought I played pretty well.
Also, you ended up heads up with your friend. Do you think you had an edge?
No, he's a very good Hold'em player, so I knew it was going to be a tough match, but we both like playing heads up, so it was a fun match as well.
All right, well, thank you very much, and congratulations one more time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are going to go back to the desk.
Thanks so much, Tatiana. And once again, congratulations to our new HPT champion, going home with the title, the bracelet, and the bragging rights, Mr. Josh Marvin.
I'll tell you, Josh may be going home with all that, especially those bragging rights. But Chris Moon played awesome poker all day today. He should be really proud of his play as well.
A couple of young guns here at this final table that have a very bright poker future. I want to say thanks to everybody here at the Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Now, if you're sitting at home watching this show and you think, well, I got what it takes, I could play here on the national level, why not give it a shot? Log on to our website at hptpoker.com, find an event that will work for you, and who knows, maybe you'll be going home with the life-changing cash. For Robert Williamson III, I'm James Larson, and we'll see you next time on the HPT.